Yeah, welcome to the main event, Marchana and Michelle. Tonight, Iowa Republicans and Democrats renewed a quadrennial exercise in democracy and made decisions that could change the course of this presidential nomination race.
One nation, under God, indivisible.
And Dr. Carson, he has what it takes.
I am voting for Jeb Bush tonight, and I ask all of you to do the same.
We've got live team coverage on the debate tonight. CBS 8's April DeVorney outside with more on those protesters. But we begin with David Aide inside with a wrap of the candidates tonight. David.
And good evening, Michelle and Bill. And if you believe in something called momentum, then Bernie Sanders rode a wave of it from New Hampshire into Milwaukee tonight, and he wanted to make sure Hillary Clinton knew that he had no intention of backing off.
Once I'm in the White House.
You're not in the White House yet.
Hundreds of protesters were outside of the debate. Now the debate's just wrapping up, and you can see a lot of these protesters are here today, and they wanted their voices heard. So, guys, who do you think won here, Bernie or Hillary? Bernie.
Neither one of them.
Hillary Clinton was joined here by Mayor Tom Barrett, Representative Gwen Moore, and Senator Tammy Baldwin. In her speech, Clinton outlined what she called one of the biggest differences between her and her opponent, Senator Bernie Sanders: college affordability.
I do want to make college affordable again.
But Hillary Clinton called Senator Bernie Sanders' plan for free college unrealistic.
Here's the problem. I don't believe we should be asking you to pay taxes to send Donald Trump's kid to college for free.
Hello, Michelle, and I'm out here in front of the Riverside Theater. I'm going to give you a look out here right now. You can see there's a line already gathering for tonight's town hall meeting.
Donald is afraid of being challenged. You know, his preferred method of communication is 140 characters or less. And if he's not only scared of the voters of Wisconsin, but he's now scared of even being interviewed by a media interviewer, that really says something about whether this man is prepared to be president.
So like we just told you, Trump right now is meeting with the media near Janesville.
Already people gathered here, even though we're still an hour away from when this march is starting here on 5th and Washington. You can see people with signs and t-shirts: no hope without the Latino vote, love Trump's hate. Again, the plan is to march from here to the Riverside Theater. That's right, Michelle. We're outside of the Holiday Inn, and we spoke to Donald Trump on his airplane with other media, and he did refer to that incident. He says that his campaign manager is innocent.
That's why there's such hatred. All you have to do is look at the numbers. When you look at the numbers on how poorly Wisconsin is doing in jobs and trade and so many other things, the farming, how they're getting killed, then you understand why there's such hatred and such fighting in Wisconsin.
Hey, good evening, Michelle and Bill. And yeah, just like you said, just wrapped up down here in downtown Milwaukee. Take a look behind. You can see people just walking out of the Riverside Theater after listening to all three of the GOP presidential candidates. So,
do you intend on changing your tone?
Nothing wrong with my tone. We're telling the truth. And if there's anything that I'm saying that is not truthful, I would like the Clinton campaign to correct me, because I don't want to say anything that is not right.
Would you equate a victory in Wisconsin as having the same momentum as your victory in Michigan for your campaign?
Well, we have now won 5 out of the 6 last caucuses. And if we win here in Wisconsin, it'll give us a lot of momentum.
More than 700 potential Republican primary voters packed this room to hear 2 of the presidential candidates make their case to Wisconsin conservatives.
We may very well have the first contested convention since 1948.
One of 2 times a contested convention was mentioned on the stage, and that's the route Ohio Governor John Kasich needs to take to get the nomination.
I got to sit down one-on-one with John Kasich tonight. I asked him about the Marquette Law School poll that says 38% of Wisconsin Republicans don't know him well enough to have an opinion on him. I wondered how he would introduce himself to those people. Kasich shot straight with his answer.
In the next couple days?
Yeah.
Ain't gonna happen. When 38% don't know you, it shows you, what has been the challenge for me in this race, which is because I've operated in the high plane and positive.
Wisconsin has lit a candle, guiding the way forward.
We won in Wisconsin.
Welcome to Campaign 2016 coverage. Big wins tonight for Senators Ted Cruz and Bernie Sanders.
You see a Tom Barrett, the incumbent, going on to a fourth term with 69.5% of the vote.
It is quite a party down here. Take a look. We just spoke with the mayor moments ago.
Put on. We kept to the issues. We ran a very clean campaign.
Chris Abele, 56% of the vote compared to Chris Larson's 44% of the vote.
Took the podium and he claimed the race, leading 56% to 44%, as you just mentioned.
And he thanked supporters tonight, told them that this is a movement and they will continue to move forward.
Short but very satisfying night for Ted Cruz and his supporters here at Serb Hall. 48 minutes after the polls had closed, the Texas senator appeared on this stage behind me with his wife Heidi and their two young daughters and called tonight in Wisconsin a turning point in the race for the White House.
Good evening to you. There are a lot of folks here inside the Wicked Hop feeling the burn tonight after that big win for Bernie Sanders here in the state of Wisconsin.
Ted Cruz, a better night than most people expected. Does this signal potential doom for the frontrunner?
Well, I think this is a really important moment actually in the Republican primary, because I think this really raises the possibility of a contested convention on the Republican side.
It's been more than 60 years since the last one. It's no surprise most people don't actually know what a contested convention means. CBS 58's Kate Chappell shows us how it all works.
Republicans and the public are preparing for what could be a contested convention in July, which means
none of the nominees for that party's convention goes into the political convention with a majority of support.
Delegates, or state reps, are awarded to candidates based on primary and caucus results. Republicans need 1,237 delegates in order to have a majority going into the convention. Here's where the candidates stand right now. This year is unique because it's possible no one goes in with the majority. If that happens, some delegates only have to vote for their candidates in the first round. By rule, voting is done orally.
Good evening, Michelle and Bill. And yeah, Governor Walker came out with a lot of energy tonight, telling Republican delegates and Republican voters the reason to support Donald Trump and Mike Pence for president and vice president is simple.
Why? Because America deserves better.
It was nearly an hour and 14-minute speech where Donald Trump mostly stuck to the script in the beginning, but then about halfway through and toward the end, he started adding in some off-the-cuff comments, and while the crowd didn't know that those were ad-lib moments, they drew loud cheers almost every time. Good morning. The Democratic National Convention is all wrapped up in Philadelphia, and it ended last night with a speech from the first woman to become the presidential nominee of a major party.
When there are no ceilings, the sky's the limit.
Hillary. Good evening, Bill and Michelle. And yeah, just a few minutes ago, Donald Trump tweeted this. It says, "Thank you, Green Bay, Wisconsin Governor Mike Pence, and I will be back soon." Trump Pence 2016. Now, here inside the building tonight, there was no Senator Ron Johnson, there was no Governor Scott Walker, and no Speaker of the House Paul Ryan. But the big news of the night is that relationship between Donald Trump and Speaker Ryan. Good evening, Michelle. And yeah, this is what the race looks like today. Hillary Clinton with a 2-point lead over Donald Trump among Wisconsin's likely voters. And this is the number poll director Charles Franklin says becomes more and more important as we get closer and closer to Election Day.
I think Wisconsin clearly is a very tight race and deserves a fair bit of attention.
But right now, that attention is mainly on Ohio, Florida, and North Carolina, where polls show just about an even split.
What is, in fact, a fairly close race here is not quite the 0% race that some of those others have had.
Excellent, Bill and Michelle. And yeah, this watch party out here filled with students. This is a political science department sponsored watch party out here at UW Waukesha. A couple dozen students. Most of them, they know what they're going to do in November. They know who they're voting for, and they just wanted to watch this debate play out. Maybe to reaffirm their decision, or maybe just to watch it for entertainment reasons.
Live team coverage tonight. Evan Krugel talking with supporters who were turned away, but let's begin with our David Aid, who is outside the Waukesha County Expo Center. David?
Good evening, Michelle and Bill. And it's right here in Waukesha where Trump supporters admit the campaign is underperforming with Republican voters. And the thought is, if you motivate those voters, then Wisconsin goes Republican in a presidential election for the first time since Ronald Reagan.
Well, believe it or not, many of those supporters told us they were not upset at all, instead calling it a good thing that Trump has so much support here in Waukesha County. Now we're
Begin with breaking news at 9. Donald Trump will not be campaigning in Wisconsin tomorrow.
This comes after an audio tape was leaked with the GOP nominee using vulgar language toward women. House Speaker Paul Ryan then saying tonight in a statement, "I am sickened by what I heard today. Women are to be championed and revered, not objectified."
Better, fairer, stronger America.
Make America great again.
These elections are about the desire of the people.
I act, and I've gotten real results.
This is a CBS 58 News election special.
And good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for election coverage right here on CBS 58.
It's been a busy day at the polls across Wisconsin and the country as we come closer to finding out who will be the next president of the United States. Russ Feingold, CBS 58's Kristen Barbarisi is in Oshkosh for a watch party for Senator Johnson, and CBS 58's Mike Strelo is in Middleton with Feingold supporters.
And in the 1st Congressional District, CBS 58's David Aid in Janesville with Paul Ryan, CBS 58's Eric Levy.
Is correct, 270, the magic number to win, and as it stands right now, Donald Trump leading electoral votes 137 to 104, and you can see a number of states have been called at this point. You'll see a lot of red on this map early on, but again,
Bill, you guys talked about all these races too close to call. This one here, in the 1st Congressional District, the AP called it in just over 30 minutes from the time the Wisconsin polls closed. A very quick call by the AP, and really not a surprise to the supporters here of Paul Ryan.
Supporters have packed the Oshkosh Convention Center here, and Senator Ron Johnson himself showed up about 7:30, spent about 45 minutes mingling with his supporters. He
performing against Ron Johnson. Now, shortly after the polls closed, Feingold tweeted out this message. He said, "If you're still in line at your polling location, stay in line. You will get to vote." As we take a look at the crowd here.
what can you say about that? How does that impact this election, the celebrity appeal of all of this?
Well, you know, I think from the Trump's perspective, I mean, his celebrity has helped him all along. I mean, he had the name recognition. Of course, he also had a lot of people who didn't like him.
America has voted. Donald Trump no longer just the Republican nominee. He is now our president-elect.
Trump will be the 45th president of the United States. The Republican nominee won early this morning. According to the Associated Press, it was Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes that put him over the 270 threshold. Take a look at the results right here. Trump got nearly 48% of the country's vote. Hillary Clinton with a little more than 47%.
As hundreds march through downtown protesting our newly elected president.
There were some Trump supporters in that crowd as well, along with some pushing and shoving. We have live team coverage tonight from Red Arrow Park. CBS 58's April DeVorney and Evan Krugel have been following the crowds all night, and we begin with Evan.
Well, things are starting to quiet down here now, but earlier this evening, hundreds of people took to the streets protesting Donald Trump's election.
We reject the president-elect.
After hours of testimony, a judge has now ruled on exactly how the recount will take place for the presidential election in Wisconsin. It will happen. It just doesn't have to be by hand.
Yeah, Judge ruled tonight that it's up to county clerks to decide how to go about this process. We have live team coverage, starting with CBS 58's Kristen Barbarisi in Madison. Kristen.
Just before 9 o'clock tonight, the judge denied Jill Stein's request for a hand recount, saying her attorneys did not meet the burden of proof.
State Attorney General Brad Schimmel released a statement about the decision. He says, quote, "I am very pleased with the judge's decision, particularly because she followed the law enacted by the legislature that sets the parameters for a hand recount. The outstanding effort of the Department of Justice attorneys and staff who worked on this case makes me extremely proud." Now, the cost of this recount differs by county. If they choose to do it by hand, that will cost more. Milwaukee County has the highest estimated cost in the state at more than $500,000. Waukesha County will be nearly $300,000. Kenosha County at about $180,000 for their portion.
And the Wisconsin election recount is now finished. The Election Commission finished certifying recounted ballots just minutes ago, and the outcome of the election has not changed. Votes were added to both candidates' totals. The president-elect actually gained more votes than Hillary Clinton. The Election Commission broke down what they found not long ago. Look for a live report from Madison on that coming up a little later in this show.